Year 1. You sign the lease on a Friday afternoon. $1,200 a month. Somewhere in the suburbs. Not Manhattan, not Brooklyn, just a place to start. 1 bedroom, parking included, laundry in the basement. You tell yourself, good enough for a start. Starting isn't scary. What's scary is when the start stretches into 7 years. You arrange IKEA furniture. You hang 1 picture. You buy a doormat like it means something. The manager said prices in this area are rising, so get out while you can. You laugh. You're young. You have plans. Everyone has plans. Year 2. January. Letter from the landlord. Rent goes up $75. Now $1,275. You're slightly annoyed, but not enough to move. Moving is stressful. Boxes, deposit, new address, updating everything in your documents. You weigh it. You decide to stay. This is the first decision you don't actually make. You simply don't say no and call it a choice. That same month, your coworker buys a townhouse in Austin, 30-year mortgage. You think, that's insane, taking on that kind of commitment. He thinks, that's an investment. 7 years from now, one of you will be right, but you don't know that yet. Right now, you just update the autopay to the new amount and go to sleep. Year 3. You run the numbers. Not because you wanted to, because you stumbled on an article about the real estate market and something clicked. $1,275 times 24 months. $30,600. Already paid. No asset. No equity. No return. Just a receipt for existing somewhere. You open Zillow. You look at homes in your neighborhood. $280,000. With a 5% down payment, that's $14,000. You have $9,000 in savings. Not that far off. You close the tab. Not because it's impossible. Because it's scary. Because a mortgage is serious and rent is just another month, and then another, and then another. That's how comfort works. It doesn't tell you to stay. It just never gives you a reason to leave. Year 4. Another letter. $1,400. The landlord explains. Property taxes went up. Insurance got more expensive. The market is the market. You nod at the text of the letter as if it can see you. You start counting differently. Not in months, in years. 4 years. $62,400. Paid to a stranger for the right to live inside someone else's walls. Down the street, they're building a new complex. 3-bedroom units, $2,400 a month. People move there and call it an upgrade. They're still renting, just more expensively. An upgrade without an asset is just a more expensive way to stand still. You stay. $1,400 feels like the reasonable choice next to $2,400, and that's the whole trap. You start comparing rent to rent instead of rent to ownership. Year 5. The picture is still hanging where you put it in year 1. You stopped noticing it long ago. You stopped hanging new things on the walls somewhere around year 3. Not consciously. At some point, your hand reached for a nail, and something inside said, why bother? Some part of you still knew this was temporary, that real life would start later. The problem is that later looks exactly like now. From the outside, nobody can tell the difference between someone who is living and someone who is waiting. Your college friend refinanced his mortgage. His monthly payment is now lower than your rent. His equity grew by $40,000 over 5 years. Not because he's smarter, because he started earlier and didn't stop. You hear this over dinner and say, that's great, congrats. Then you drive home, in a leased car, to a rented apartment, and you think, I really need to finally deal with this. Need to, the most expensive phrase in the English language after temporary. Year 6, 3 in the morning, Wednesday. You can't sleep. You do the math. $1,400 times 72 months. $100,800. You stare at that number. $100,000. More than $100,000 paid to a person you've seen twice, when you signed the lease and when you changed the lock. This isn't just money. It's a down payment on a house. Twice. It's an investment portfolio that could have been working for you. It's 10 years of compound interest in index funds. You lie in the dark in the apartment you've lived in for 6 years and feel something heavier than regret. Regret is about a moment. This is about years. About every month you chose the familiar over the possible. When comfort was more convincing than growth. You finally understand what this rent actually cost you. Not $100,800, but the version of yourself who could have built something real. You get up. You open the laptop. You go back to Zillow. Year 7. February. Letter from the landlord. $1,550 a month starting in April. You sit with the letter in your hands longer than usual. You look at the number. You think about year 1, about $1,200, about the picture on the wall, about the plan that was supposed to be temporary. You think about $100,800. You think about your coworker with the townhouse in Austin, about the friend who refinanced, about Zillow at 3 in the morning. And then you open the laptop. Not Zillow, not Redfin, Gmail. You write to the landlord. Sounds good, thanks for the notice. And you renew the lease. Not because it's the right call, not because you don't know better, but because inertia is the most powerful financial force in a person's life. Not laziness, not stupidity, just the quiet gravity of staying where you already are. Moving is effort. A mortgage is scary. And another month of rent is just another month. Until another month becomes 7 years. The rule of the rented apartment. The cost isn't in the lease. It's in the years you spent waiting to begin. Every month you stayed was a vote for the life you already have over the life you could have built. The apartment didn't trap you. The comfort did. And comfort is the slowest way to lose everything you were supposed to build. Right now, someone is signing a lease and calling it temporary. They hang a picture. They put a doormat by the entrance. They tell themselves, next year will be different. It usually isn't. Not because they can't change, but because temporary is convenient, and convenient is quiet, and quiet is invisible. And that's exactly how 7 years pass in a single evening.